Live, Season 1, Episode 35. Jason from Ham Radio 2.0 Rebroadcast. Got that coming up next. Bill from Ham Radio Basics here. If you like the content of this video or anything on my channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss any future content. With that, let's begin. The holiday season is in full swing, and I'm taking some much needed time off. Tonight, you're in for a real treat. I'm going to be showing a rebroadcast of my interview with Jason from Ham Radio 2.0. Jason is one of my favorite ham radio YouTubers, has an excellent ham radio knowledge, and has been very helpful to me personally with my channel and with ham radio. So without any further ado, let's roll that clip in its entirety. Welcome, everyone. This is Ham Radio Basics Live, and this is Season 1, Episode 4. We have very special guest, Jason, from Ham Radio 2.0. Jason, how are you this evening?
I'm doing good, Bill. How are you doing?
Doing great. Doing absolutely great. It's a real pleasure to have you on. You're one of my ham radio heroes, okay?
Okay. That's good.
But just want to spend some time tonight getting to, just some Q&A and just finding out some things. I know you said you started back with ham radio. When did you get started in it?
I was first licensed in 1994.
Oh wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. So
I was going to say, because now what sparked your interest in it? Did you?
Back then I was in college back then, and we a group of friends and I wanted to be able to communicate between our vehicles, and this was back when cell phones would charge you a fee for per minute during the day. And so one guy had an idea. He's like, let's get CBs, and our church at the time had some CBs, so we were kind of used to listening to them. And so we all put CBs in our car, and we ran around like that for a couple of years. And through the CB radio, I met a guy who was interested in ham radio. I think he had been a ham years prior and had let it lapse. And so he starts telling me about repeaters. I'm like, what's a repeater? And he explained how a repeater worked. And I'm like, wow, that'd be really cool if you could get a repeater on 11 meter AM for CB. But then we started listening to some scanners and listening to ham radio repeaters. I'm like, yeah, that FM sounds a lot better, obviously. So me and 2 or 3 other guys went and all studied together and got our license together. So that's kind of how it started.
Cool. Very cool. One of the things, to me, and I think it's so important today is, with social media and technology and everything, I think it's YouTube. A lot of people just bash the daylights out of YouTube, but it's just absolutely fantastic, because I can tell you from your channel, from Josh, and several others, I've learned so much. I started out in 2014, and moving to Florida, it was, I was in Ohio, no hurricanes, all I had to do is worry about winter storms. Well, hurricanes are a different beast. And, I wanted to make sure that I had some alternate forms of communication, because, when it hits the fan down here with a hurricane, the regular infrastructure is down. And that's how I got started doing ham radio. And it was in rapid succession. I mean, I took the general, then I took, I took the technician, and then it was pretty much right after that, I took the general, and then right after that, amateur extra, boom, and I was done. But I let it sit for a few years. Life got in the way. I was a newlywed. I got married, about 10 years ago, and, just a whole lot of stuff. But now things have settled down, and, the past couple of years, I've been able to focus on that. And I've really enjoyed it. And I've really enjoyed your channel. And, some of the things, one of the things I really like, Jason, is your commitment to education and doing that. How did you get started with the gentleman who you have on there who helps you out with that? I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, so that's you're probably referring to Chris, who's KD5HIY. He's a local ham that lives just in the next city over from me. He and I have been members of the Hearst Amateur Radio Club for a number of years. In fact, when I kind of did the same thing. I got licensed and I used it for a couple years, 2 or 3, 4 years, something like that. Then I dropped it. Then I picked it up again and dropped it. And I did that for the first, I don't know, 15 years I was licensed, something like that. And I picked it up again around, I think it was around 2012 or 2013. And I found the Hearst Amateur Radio Club, which Hearst is a city that's like 2 cities over from Grapevine in what we call mid cities, halfway between Dallas and Fort Worth. And I found that club and I found the repeater and got on the repeater one day and I started talking to this guy, Noel, KF5SOK, who's actually one of my admins on the channel now. I've known him for a number of years. And I started coming to meetings and I found out that they were doing classes for general upgrade, which at the time I was still a technician. I was a technician for like 18 years. And so I was like, okay, I'd never heard of such a class. When we went and studied, my friends and I went and studied together for our technician license. It was, we just studied out of a book. I think it was an ARRL book, and we didn't have any classes or anything. I didn't know about anything back then. Maybe they had them. I don't know. But this was the first time I had a class. So we went to the, myself and 1 or 2 other people I knew went to the Hearst Amateur Radio Club, went through their general class, and got our general upgrade through that. That was probably 2013-ish, something like that. And then I had to renew my license for the second time next year. I was kind of bummed that my upgrade didn't renew my license for me, but that's okay. And then it was sometimes about a year or so later after that I finally started YouTube, and I was already ingrained in the Hearst Club at that point in time. So the next time their class came up, I'm like, hey guys, would you mind if I recorded this? And they were like, yeah, sure. Why not? They didn't mind. Of course, my channel was brand new at the time. Nobody knew who I was. And I'm like, well, I'll promote the Hearst Club. So, fast forward several years later, the question pool expires every 4 years. I've now done the technician class with them twice, I think. We've got a new technician class. They've put together their slides for the new question pool that updated last year. They're going to be giving a class sometime in March, I think. And I'm going to be recording that and putting that up there again. But really, that was just being at the right place, at the right time with the right club, and me just having a camera and pointing it at the people who knew how to do that. Because people thank me for, hey, thanks for your class. I'm like, it's not really my class. I just recorded the guys who know what they're talking about. So and then since then we've done a general class from them, and we did an extra class from another club that's local, the North Richland Hills Amateur Radio Club. So we did a class from them as well for extra. And those are some of my most popular. I've got 1,200 some odd videos on YouTube, and the technician and the general, they kind of flip back and forth. Honestly, the general class was more popular for a while, but right now the technician class is like the 3rd most viewed video on my channel. So that's what people enjoy seeing. That not a lot of people have that available to them. They either don't have a club near them, or maybe they don't know they have a club near them, or the club near them doesn't offer classes or something like that. So I get a lot of feedback saying, hey, thanks for this, because I couldn't find anything locally to me. So it was good to have it on YouTube.
Well, you really hit a real niche right there, and I think that's key. And I think when a lot of people can see it, I mean, there's the online, there's Ham Test, there's that Ham Prep, and some other ones, eHam, and they're all good and everything. And I don't say that, but having what you recorded on there, I think is fantastic, because it's not dry. It's real. You have a real person presenting it to you, and and telling you things. And it used to be, a lot of people would just go in and try to memorize answers, and try to get that done. And you really can't do that. Now, one of the tests that I took, it was online, or one of the study methods I did was online, and it was several years ago. But they rotated the questions in there, which I thought was great, because it prevented you from memorizing things. Okay. You really had to know things. Okay. It just wasn't, picking A, B, C, D, or E. You really had to get in there and know that. But I really like one thing that you touched upon was, it's from your local club. And, there's a lot to be said for finding a good local club. Now, there are 2 in the area that I'm in. I joined one of them, and then I ended up finding out it's in a retirement community. Okay. And the average age there, let's say they're probably I'm 65. They're probably some of the younger people are 75. in that
Oh,
club.
okay. All right.
Okay. So, but then there's another one that's about 15, 20 miles away. Average age is probably about my age, 60, 65. And they seem to be real active. They have a great website out there, which I think's good. They keep that updated. You can actually get a membership online. You don't have to present, mail a paper or anything. So they're with it. And I think that's so good. But one of the things that I think I've seen a lot of people get frustrated about is, wanting to get, involved with a club, but yet they don't have one near them, That's just,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the feedback I've received, because I did a video a while back. I before I started YouTube, I made a semi halfway effort attempt at running a blog, and I would put up blog posts, and I get some feedback on it kind of here and there. I'm not a very good writer, I don't think, but anyway, one of the blog posts I wrote was, "Now you've got your ham radio license," or "So you got your ham radio license, now what?" That was the title of the blog, and I made that into a video several years later. And one of the things I said was, join a ham club, join a ham radio club, just Google, or Yahoo at the time, maybe. It wasn't that long ago. I think I said Google, but just search for whatever your city or county name is, and just search for ham radio club after it, or amateur radio club. So City of Grapevine Amateur Radio Club, City of Dallas Amateur Radio Club, something like that. And I said, do that. But I got a lot of feedback on that video saying, I've done that and there's nothing out here. Or, and this one kind of irritated me, or, they said, "Oh yeah, we've got a club here." I went there and I started asking questions, and they said that, a couple people said, "Oh, since I didn't know CW, I wasn't a real ham and I didn't feel welcome there," or something stupid like that. So I'm just like, that's just, in Dallas, Fort Worth, there are a lot of really good ham clubs in DFW, North Texas. And I've been privileged to, and I've attended most of those meetings, or most of the clubs. I'll go to meetings every now and then just for some of them. And I guess I didn't realize it at the time, but I guess I'm just kind of privileged to have so many good ham clubs near me, because I kind of have my pick of where I want to go. But it's sad to see that that not everyone has that. So I've talked about this for a couple of years. We're actually working on creating some sort of virtual club that we'll have online meetings on Zoom, and just kind of welcome anybody who wants to join like a virtual club, and just, monthly meetings. We'll get together and do POTA and stuff like that. So eventually someday I'm going to actually get the bow tied on that, and we'll see.
Yeah, I think that would be a great idea, because there's so many guys out there who, and one of the things that really gets me really torqued off is I'll go out to some of the groups on Facebook, and there's some people that ask some really basic questions. And then you have what I'll call, for lack of a better term, some sad hams come back and say, well, if you had, you won't need a tuner if your antenna was resonant. And I'm like, that's not what you need to tell a new ham. Okay.
Right.
And I see so much of that out there, and it just really irks the daylights out of me, but what's real nice is that there's one of them out there on Facebook, and I think it's called like Ham Radio for Newbies. It's such a they have a great community in there, and they really kind of emphasize, there's no stupid question. You're new. We're not going to condescend you. We're not going to come back with a smart aleck answer to you guys. We're going to try to help you along. And also, they'll go the extra mile and try to help you find somebody in your area, which I think, that's really good. Well, today, and I talked a little bit about this with, I had Scott from Ham Radio for Non-Techies on my first show. And, he and I talked a little bit about, how nowadays it's us, we're the Elmers out there, and people come to us for advice. I've had a gentleman, he's a disabled vet, and he's emailed me several times asking me questions. And I consider that an honor and a privilege. I kind of get the same thing on my drone channel, Bill the Drone Reviewer. I get a lot of emails daily from people just asking me basic questions. And I think, and that's so satisfying and so fulfilling. I mean, I really get a lot out of that. And I'm sure you do too. I think, it really helps to know that you're helping somebody. Okay. And, as I told people, there's no such thing as a stupid question. Like how do you set up an IC 7300, out of the box? What do you do? When you get a hand talkie, okay, programming it. how should I program it? Should I use Chirp? Should I buy the other software? It's these kind of things that really help people get comfortable and really embrace ham radio.
Mm-hmm.
That's
yeah,
just,
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, some of the talk about sad hams. Some of the sad hams are like, the internet's killing ham radio, or YouTube's killing ham radio, or Facebook or Twitter or whatever. I've heard that a bunch, and I still maintain that nothing's killing ham radio, because if you look at the numbers, they're still going up, and they've been going up since 2006, which is the year they dropped the last CW Morse code requirement for testing. They got a really good shot in the arm at COVID, of course, but they were on an upward trend for a decade and a half before COVID got here. So ham radio is not dying, but if it were to ever kind of go towards a downward trend, my opinion would be it's all the bickering between current hams, and it's all the unwelcoming hams to new people that would actually kill that long before social media, YouTube, or anything else does. So I'm like, all the people that just want to complain about something, I mean, they're the problem. So YouTube's not the problem. They are.
Well, I know you just came back from HamCation, which is always a treat. And I know you saw a bunch of guys out there, and I can see from the pictures you guys had a great time as usual. So, got to ask you, did you pick up anything?
Yes. Yeah, I did. Actually, I think you can see it right here. I got from Whiskey 2 Hotel Victor Hotel. I'm currently putting this together, but I don't have it done yet. It's an IC705 Go kit.
Oh, wow.
And the 705 goes in there. The tuner goes behind it. There's a place for a battery at the top. That's a bi-window. That blue thing on the top is a bi-window. It has this bag that it goes in. It's got power poles on the front, so you can charge from another battery, put a bigger, longer battery. It's got a USB-B connector on the front, so that you can plug it into plug the digital modes into a computer and use the same cable that the IC7300 uses.
Wow.
So it's got a lot of stuff like that. So this is pretty cool, and some people said, well, that takes your 705 and makes it to where it's not as portable anymore. And I'm like, well, yeah, but I don't care, because the 705 to me is not very portable. It's a little bit too fragile to be portable. That's a topic. Yeah, I mean, we had a long debate about that at HamCation. I'm like, well, if that's what you want to pack in your backpack and hike up a mountain with, fine, but I'm afraid of damaging something. I'm taking my KX3 if I'm hiking up a mountain. So
yeah, I mean, you want something small, portable, light, that kind of thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So I got that. I got a what else did I get? I got something else. I can't remember right now. I picked up that 818 we were talking about before the stream started. I got the display model. The last radio that Gigaparts had, they sold me their display model, and then a week later, they had them in stock again for like a day. So I mean, I'm like, all right. They give me a discount because it was an open box, so I'm like, oh, good. It looks brand new. I don't care. It's fine.
Yeah, but there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
One of the questions I wanted to ask you, and I know you put a really good video on it, is the IC905. In my impressions, just to let you know, right off the bat, it's going to set you back some good coin. Not only for the radio, but getting the antennas set up for that. My whole thing with that, and I've talked to several other guys, is, do you have a good microwave community in the area in which you live in? Okay. Right. Because if you don't, then the whole concept behind the radio, and I read something and it was translated from Japanese to English, which is it's never really that accurate, but it was really kind of made more for Japan because microwave is pretty big over there. Just wanted to hear your thoughts about that, Jason. What do you think about that?
My first initial thought when that radio came out was, hey, that's kind of kitschy and neat and very not narrow-minded. That's not what I'm saying. It's too nichey, too narrow of a niche. But there was a lot of speculation about what it would and wouldn't do. So once I figured out what it would do, which they made an announcement, I think it was around Huntsville of last year when they were talking about that. And once I watched the interview that Josh did with Ray, and I'm like, okay, that makes more sense now. I think that, and I told Ray this in my interview with him at HamCation. I think that radio is an excellent example of use it or lose it. So we're always talking about how if we don't use our bands, we're going to lose them, like the 220 band, the 900 megahertz band, microwave bands. We lost the 3.3 gigahertz band, or at least part of it, I think. Which we had some Arden stuff on that band a while back. I don't remember if we lost the whole thing or just part of it, but somebody can correct me if you want to. But it's I don't know of any other radio manufacturer making a radio for those bands. Now, it'll do 2 meters, 440, 70 centimeters, and 1.2 gigahertz all mode. Okay, so it already does all mode. The 705 kit was it was 420 with a battery. When I walked by his table, he was out of battery, so I went and bought my own battery. He sold it for 370 without the battery. So I've never seen I've never seen a non-homebrew radio that'll do 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. So this one will do 2.4 or 5 gigahertz, and with an add-on, it will do 10 gigahertz. There's guys who are doing this. They have these elaborate microwave dish setups. I attended the Microwave Update Conference, and that was in Dallas 2 or 3 years ago. And those guys have some really wicked, cool looking setups that they drive up to a mountain. they don't backpack that stuff in, but they drive it up to a mountain, and it's like, man, you guys are like, we get accused of talking to aliens when we have an antenna in the air at a park. These guys are like really talking to aliens out here. It looks like they are. So, and I'm just like, you know what? The fact that ICOM has taken a hold of that market and done something from it, I think that's awesome. I mean, I think that's really cool. So I think it's a great example of use it or lose it. I think that, yeah, it's going to be, I don't know how much it's going to be. Ray said he didn't even know how much it was going to be. I'm guessing somewhere between high twos, just south of $3,000 is what I'm guessing. I have no idea. Total, no insider information, no special privileges here. I'm totally guessing. But some people will buy it. Some people will use it. Some people will get on the air on those bands. And I think it's going to create a buzz, and you can either save your, sell a couple of old radios. I've got 2 or 3 Raspberry Pi 4s. I might try to trade for one of those things. We'll see how that goes. But that was a joke about how expensive those are right now. But I try to make jokes sometimes. They don't work. But no, I mean, you can sell a couple radios and get one, or you can build your own microwave, and that's been true for a long time. Build your own microwave setup, and I think it's going to be a fun part of the hobby that I have not experienced before, and that it's going to get more people interested in that side of the hobby where they haven't been there before. So I think it's a good thing.
I do too. And you brought up a good point here, because what a lot of people do, like in the drone community, for example, they'll wait till somebody comes out and they'll buy like the latest and greatest DJI drone. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll wait a month or two after it comes out. They'll watch the reviews, and then they'll probably dive in and get it. And I think that's going to be the case with the 905. I think people are going to sit back initially. You're not going to get, a lot of people buy it, but maybe you might get it, maybe Josh might get it, and some other ones. And what's real interesting, and I got to throw this in, which I think it's just an absolute hoot. Okay. Mm-hmm. For example, the drone manufacturer DJI, what they do is they will send to a YouTube reviewer a drone ahead of the release. Now they have to sign a, confidentiality agreement, right, and all that. And then the day it gets released, they get to throw their videos out there, and then, they get God number of views. But the thing is with that is DJI lets them keep this. Okay. And then I got a real awakening a couple of years ago when I was watching you guys, and I don't know if it was you or Josh or somebody. So yeah, I'm taking it back to Ham Radio Outlet, and I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, it's like it's like, okay, well, we're gonna have a rental radio here, and it's going back, which I just find it just real interesting and fascinating. But I think the thing is right. I think, people will lay back, they'll wait, they'll take a look, and they'll see, and they'll watch for some good reviews on it, and then they'll probably dive in, and I see that happening. One of the other things that I have been just absolutely curious about is the IC 7100, because it was another one of those that, when people were saying it's getting scarce and they're going to shut it down, and then boom, it just flew off the shelves. You can't find it on eBay, on any other places right now. It's not out there. And I talked to one of my friends who unfortunately worked at the San Diego ham radio outlet. Okay. And they're going to be closing shop this week, which is that's a whole nother show in and of itself. But he was kind of giving me the clue that maybe June, July this year that ICOM's going to get that back, because again, this is probably due to the parts shortage, the whole thing with, buying cars and the chips and all that. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you're right. It says on several websites it's like delayed production time or something like that. I asked Gigaparts about it, and Gigaparts is like, we've received no information about that radio being discontinued at all. And then I think I asked Ray about it at HamCation, and I can't remember what he told me right now, but I could be wrong about this, but I'm pretty sure Ray told me that no, it's not been discontinued and it's coming back. I hope I'm not misquoting him, but yeah. So, but at least the retailers say that it's not been discontinued. It's just been short on getting parts in, so they're delayed in manufacturing. Now, I heard the 7300 was kind of the same way. In fact, if you notice, the 7300 is almost back to where it was when it was brand new. The price the price is almost back to where it was when it was brand new. On Black Friday of 2019, at the end of 2019, before COVID hit and the Japan factory fire and all these shortages that we have now, that radio was going brand new for like $890. IC 7300 brand new, Black Friday special, $890, something like that. And now it's back, and it was $14.99 when they were released at Dayton in 2013 or 14, whatever year that was. I don't even remember. I was there, but I don't remember which year it was. And they were $14.99, and ICOM's like, they asked all the retailers, please don't discount this. It's brand new. Just sell it for $14.99. And everybody sold out of them. So I don't know what the cost on it was necessarily, but I know that there were no discounts back then. So that radio dropped in almost half price, and now it's back up to like $1,400-$1,400 or whatever it is right now. It might have kind of settled, but yeah, and that's due to part shortages as well.
Yeah,
because it's just all about supply and demand. How many radios can you build, and how many can you, everybody wants one. So, and everybody thinks that, oh, well, I'll get one someday. But then just like the FT818 we were talking about before the stream started, we can't get one. It's being discontinued. We can't get one anymore. Okay. And now the HRO in Texas told me that they had 65 in stock when John Crook made that announcement on the Yaesu Facebook page, and they sold all 65 of those in about 90 minutes. He's like, we sell like one a week, maybe, because that radio is like 10, 12 years old. It's not new. There's nothing fancy about it. It's 6 watts. I'm not trying to dog it, but you've got a lot better. You got a lot newer options for if you want a QRP rig than the FT818. But I tell you what, when they announced it was going away, boom, everybody wanted one. So,
oh yeah. Well, I just picked up an 891. Okay. About 3 weeks ago. I haven't unboxed it yet because work has been. I mean, I'm spending 45, 50 hours a week at work now. I work in IT, and it's just been crazy right now.
Yeah.
But the big thing is for me, I went back out just for grins and giggles to look at. I got it from DX Engineering. They're on back order until April right now.
Somebody showed that. I think I saw a Facebook post about that earlier. They're like, wow, April, sheesh. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Which and it doesn't surprise me. And the whole thing right now, and I know some other guys have done some videos on, the whole thing about supply and demand and things like that. And what I say is just number one, and we talk about this in the drone community. Enjoy what you have right now. Okay. Save your piggy bank for for when it comes out, and if you can put a deposit down, do it. Just be aware it may take a while, and that's why talk about patience. And I know one of the things that has piqued my interest is a KX3, and and I'm looking as far as build times, and somebody told me, first person told me 12 weeks, okay, and then another person told me probably more like about 20 weeks, okay, and that's a conservative estimate, all right, but it's one of those things that everybody has said it's worth the wait.
Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah, KX3 is a fantastic radio.
And because I've heard a lot of people talk about and I know To loves his Xiegu 6100, all right, and that's
I
a
don't know.
love.
I don't know. He was kind of bad mouthing it at HamCation. I think he's kind of over that radio, but
Yeah, well, early on he was just like
oh
all
yeah,
over it with the
yeah,
firmware updates and everything. And I think that's the thing. Xiegu has a good thing there, but I think it's half baked. Okay,
right.
and it's like one of those things. You keep waiting for firmware updates for that, and it's like, okay, well, and I'll give you an example from my drone experience. Okay, I had an Autel X-Star Premium, all right, and it looked like the Phantom. It was a big orange pumpkin, all right. Well, the thing that killed that was everybody was waiting for firmware updates, and they never came out with that, and it just level set the drone. And I think people's frustrations, like with the 6100, is is these firmware updates and the lack of things. But is it a good price? Yeah, but there's some trade-offs there. It's like right away. Julian OH8, he's the expatriate. He said first thing when you get that radio, toss the mic in the garbage can. He says it's a piece of trash. But getting a good QRP and see, I had so many people ask me about what is a QRP radio that you would recommend? Okay. And and my first question is, how much money do you want to spend? Literally, okay. Because you can get a 705, all right. You can get a KX3, okay. You can get the Lab 599, all right. But again, it's how much money do you want to spend, and what you're going to get back in return for that. And one of the things for me is, and I tell people, are you patient? Can you wait? Because if you can wait for a KX3 because it's worth it. Okay. But if you can't, look at something like a 705 because almost everybody has those in stock right now.
Yep. I think that I'm not big on QRP. I don't really enjoy it that much. You wouldn't know that because I have one of every model of QRP radio that's out there, or almost anyway. So, for me, my question always is, what are you going to do with it? I mean, the question about how much do you have to spend is also a very good question. But I always ask them, well, what are you going to do with it? I mean, so if you're going to use it at home, then no, don't, go get 100 watts. If you're going to use it in the car, go get 100 watts. If you're going to backpack with it, yeah, KX3 is going to be KX3 or the Lab 599 is going to be a better choice in my opinion. The 6100 and the 705 are a little bit too fragile for that, I think.
Yeah, and I agree. And one of the things, I talked to a good Elmer, and when I first really got started out, and one of the things that he told me was, he said QRP. He said wait. He said don't even think about it. And it's so right, because I see a lot of guys out there, their eyes get big as silver dollars, and they're like, oh yeah, I can get this radio, and I'm like, time out, guys. Okay, because try getting like, and you know what I always suggest, if you're going to spend that kind of money, get a 7300. All right.
Right.
Because you're going to have something, you're going to punch through. You're going to make contacts with that. Okay. You are going to get, and this is the thing. And I've heard, and I've had several owners tell me this is, you get a QRP radio, it may frustrate you enough that you may leave the hobby altogether.
Right. Correct. Yep. Yeah. I record, I don't know if you saw my, my thumbs down video, but I kind of got some. I caught some flack over that, but okay. So I did a video. So the 705 was released during the height of COVID and lockdowns. It was
Hmm.
actually supposed to be released before all that, and just because of everybody had to go home and nobody could go to work anymore, it was delayed, like many things were. So around that time when COVID started, a lot of people went home, had to go home, work from home, or got laid off, heaven forbid. And the ham radio license, the virtual ham radio license testing started about that time, and we saw a huge jump in numbers of getting newly licensed hams. And I can't count the number of emails I got, Discord messages I got, comments on videos saying, "Hey, I just got my license. Testing for general next week. I'm thinking about the 705 as my first radio, because my first HF radio, because it's brand new. It's about to come out. What do you think?" And my response was always the same. Do you know what QRP is? Well, no, I haven't learned the. Okay, do you know what low power HF is? And they're like, well, and you could tell they didn't know. I'm like, don't get that radio. There's nothing wrong with the QRP radio if you understand what it is. I'm like, literally, when the 705 came out, the IC 7100 did everything, all the same stuff.
Hmm.
No tuner, built-in sound card, all the same bands, all the same modes, except 7100 has D star and the 705 doesn't. Wait a minute, yeah, it does. Never mind. Doesn't it? I can't even remember. Yeah, it does. It has
Yeah,
D star. Yeah,
definitely.
so all the same bands and modes. I get confused. All the same bands and modes, all the same features, half the price. The 7100 was at the time is 100 watts for half the price of the 705. And I'm like, if you want, but I want 2 meter 440, get the 7100. I just want
Yeah.
HF, get the 7300. 7300 is like $300 or $400 cheaper than the 705 at that point in time. So it was like, understand what you're buying, understand what
Hmm.
low power is, understand what 10 watts is. Because like you said, yeah, a brand new licensed ham that goes out, sets it up in his car, tries to work some DX station or somebody calling CQ POTA, or tries to go out to do a POTA, doesn't understand that he's only pushing 10 watts with an external battery. Or maybe doesn't understand. Maybe he understands he has 10 watts, but he doesn't understand the 7100 has 100 watts. It's frustrating. It's frustrating. It's a nice
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
challenge. It's a nice challenge for people like you and I.
Right.
But
Exactly.
but it's frustrating if you don't understand what's going on. So I think the 705 is a great radio, just once you understand what it is.
Exactly. Okay.
So,
It is. And,
yeah.
that's one of the things that I tell people is, after you've got some, seasoning behind you, and one of the other things that I like to tell people, Jason, and I've kind of had this drilled into me is, everybody's ready to key that mic. Okay. And you know what I tell people? Put that mic down, listen,
Right.
and listen. Okay. Because,
Right.
you're not going to learn from keying your mic. You're going to learn from listening. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't emphasize that enough to my friends and to those who are getting started out in ham radio, because, the last thing you want to do, and there's so many great videos out there. I know you have some, I know Josh has some, I know Scott has some, on, calling CQ for the first time.
Right.
And what do you say and what do you do and things like that? It's the first thing that you do, and it was drilled into me, is like, listen, because you're going to learn so much by
Mm-hmm.
keeping this shut
Mm-hmm.
and keeping these open. I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
what my dad used to tell me all the time.
Yeah, that's true. People also forget that if you really want to do QRP, there's this cool little button or knob on the 7300 called RF power, and you can turn it down.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to push 100 watts all the time. So your 7100 is every radio, FT891, 7100, 7200, IC 7000, which is what I have in my truck right now. If I could turn it down to 5 watts if I wanted to. So if you really want to do QRP, you can. You don't have to push 100 watts all the time.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I just my big thing was just always trying to educate people on what the differences were between all these things, and just making sure you got, because yeah, we don't want people to get interested in the hobby and then make a bad decision on buying a radio because they don't understand the nuances of that radio, and then get frustrated and leave the hobby. We don't want to. We want to try to Elmer people as much as we can.
Exactly. What piece of equipment do you want that you don't have? And I know that's a loaded question for you because
Yeah.
you seem to have just about everything. But
Oh,
what one thing don't you have that you want to get?
I would I would say it's a toss up between a Flex 6600, which I have a 6400, and at the time, I had opportunity to get a discount on a 6600, but I just didn't have the money at the time. Love my 6400, but the 6600 has a few more features on it. It would either be that or one of the new K4s from Elecraft.
Yeah,
Probably. And
those K4s.
probably, yeah, probably the K4 only because I already have a Flex. But so yeah, one of those two items is probably, and they're both of those are a few $1,000s, and that's why I don't have one yet. So
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah,
I hear that.
let's
And
be
it's like,
honest here.
you know, I like to stay. I like my wife, and I like staying married. So,
Right.
you
Yes.
know,
Yeah. That too. Yeah.
and I
Totally.
don't like sleeping on the couch. So,
No.
those all add up real quickly as far as that's concerned. It's going to happen sooner rather than later. Dayton's coming up around the corner, and you know, now as far as getting up there, are you going to drive up to Dayton?
Yep.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, so Xenia Fairground, or what they call Green County Fairgrounds in Xenia, they have, I don't know, 75, 85, something like that RV spots, which is small potatoes compared to all the people that we bring to Dayton. I think we really surprised them the first time we had Hamvention there. But they only have like 75 or 85 RV spots for that whole fairgrounds. And 10 or 20 of those are taken up by Hamvention staff. So when the first year we went out there, I was asking them about that. And they're like, "Well, you have to get on a waiting list, and then once someone drops off, you'll get a call, and then you get first right of refusal every year after that." I'm like, "Okay." So I got on this waiting list, and like the first year they had Hamvention in Xenia. They called me and said, "We have a spot. Do you want it?" And I said, "Yes." That was in, I think, January of 2020. so I bought and paid for a spot in January of 2020. I didn't get to use it until last year because they canceled Hamvention for 2 years in a row. So I have an RV spot that I have first right of refusal on.
Good.
And I've already reserved it and paid for it for this year. So we're driving out there. It's about a 15-hour drive for us from North Texas. So we're driving out there. We're going to leave on Tuesday and drive probably 2/3 of the way and camp in a state park that night. And then get up Wednesday morning, drive the rest of the way, be there around midday on Wednesday. We did that last year. I typically do lunchtime live streams at noon local time on my channel on Wednesdays. And we just happened to get there around noon. So I got the trailer set up and we started about an hour and a half late, but I just live streamed from the fairgrounds for like an hour and a half. Frank was there. Josh walked up at the time. A couple other guys walked up. We're just sitting there live streaming in the fairgrounds 2 days before Hamvention starts. So that was really fun. I'm going to try do that again this year. But we stay through, I usually rent the place through Sunday night. That way I don't have to clear out of there at 10 a.m. Sunday morning or something like that. So, we'll stay. We'll probably head out Sunday afternoon, evening, something like that. Drive part of the way back, something like that. So, but yeah, we'll be there, and that's a fun show. Orlando's the only one that I fly to that I don't drive to. So, but we're gonna drive. I've driven to Dayton for the last 4 or 5 years. I really enjoy that trip.
Yeah, it's a little far for me. It's about probably time wise because when my wife and I first got married, we drove down from Columbus down to Tampa, and it's probably about a 15+ hour drive. And for me, I drive like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And when when the sun's down, I'm down. I'm done. Okay, I don't like driving when it's dark outside. But you're hauling. I mean, you're driving your RV too.
Right.
So that's
Slows
that's
it
always
down.
a challenge.
Yeah. Yep. Definitely slows it down. So, but it's worth it having a place to crash during the day.
Oh yeah.
Because have you been to Hamvention in Xenia?
No, I haven't.
Okay. All right. So and there's like 5 buildings in the center complex thing, and with like an outdoor food court type thing, and it's surrounded by these 5 buildings. It's maybe 6 buildings, and on the back side of one of the buildings is where the RV spot's kind of over here and over here. My RV spot just happens to be behind the building where the Gigaparts booth is, so it's like a 3 or 4 minute walk from the RV campsite to the inside, going through the back door to get into the Gigaparts booth. And those guys always do a really they always welcome us and let us crash at their booth because they're real supportive of the YouTubers in general.
Yeah,
So
they are. And
yeah,
well, I actually got I applied for and I actually got my media credentials. So
good.
they'll be waiting there when I get there. And I think Thursday. I'm not 100% sure. But I think that's when we're going to get there. So
Hmm.
I'm going to make sure to be able to look out for everybody because I'm really excited about it because I
Hmm.
haven't been there. And
Hmm.
some people tell me it's a little different from Orlando. Um, you
Yeah.
know, just in and of itself, the
Hmm.
nature of the beast and everything.
Hmm.
Um, you know, and I'm really excited about it. I watched your videos from last year and Josh's and everybody's, and
Hmm.
I'm excited about getting out there. And one of my goals is to get to a lot of the vendors and to talk to them and ask them some of the
Hmm.
pointed questions like, are we going to see a 7100?
Yeah.
And those kind of things. So
Hmm.
I'm really kind of looking forward to that and to meeting everybody because I know
Hmm.
um, I've I've leveraged my YouTube skills from now my other channel. I have about 12,000, 13,000 subscribers
Hmm.
on my drone channel. And, I'm not big by any means, but I'm not small. And that's what's helped me get off on a good start on this channel is, I leveraged all those, YouTube skills that I learned from the other channel,
Hmm.
ported it over here. I've already got 1,000 subscribers. I don't have the hours yet, but it's getting there, and I'm
Yeah.
seem to be pretty pleased with that. So yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be fun, and plus, I get the added bonus of going to see my children and visit my granddaughter. So I mean, it's a
Yeah.
win-win. Now, what we're gonna do, and what we did, we went up in December. For the first time, we did a Verbo, and
Hmm.
we
Hmm.
found it was an apartment, and we stayed for like $89 a night, which was a steal. But
Hmm.
then you go to find out with things like that is they didn't have lights in the living room. It was very sparse in terms of furniture, no
Hmm.
dining room table, no nightstands in the bedroom, that kind of thing. I mean, but for $89 for a place to crash, I mean, it really was great. So that, yeah, we're looking forward to that. It's probably what we're going
Yeah.
to do again, because it helps saving some money here. So
Oh yeah. And
that's one of the things that I'm really good. One of the other things I really like about what you do, Jason, and you do everything and you do it well. But one of the things I really like is you stay on top of, when things are on sale, you get
mhm.
information out there to everybody to be able to do that. I just think that's fantastic because I know you do some lunchtime live streams and some other ones, and you'll come out and you'll tell us about these sales. And I think that's
Mm.
fantastic. I think that's a great thing that you do.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that kind of started a few years back when I was doing week of Black Friday sales, and those seemed to be popular, and people seemed to like that kind of stuff. So I was like, well, people run sales throughout the rest of the year too, so let's just try it once a week. And I did that for two or 3 years every Friday, and I slacked off on that towards the end of last year. But I'm kind of starting to do them again because people, they don't get the watch time that my other videos do, but I got a lot of comments about people missing them. So I'm like, well, okay, well, if I'm out of town, like I didn't do one the weekend I was at HamCation,
Yeah.
but I did one last week. I'll do one this Friday, that kind of thing. So there was some good President's Day sales last weekend, so that helped. And but
Yeah,
trying to
and
trying to get
and a lot of times, there's some videos, and I do it here as well as my drone channel. There's some videos that I do that I know they won't get the hits, but
hmm
they're going to
yeah,
get, they're going to get some great information out to people,
right.
because I've had so many people get some feedback from that. Bill, thank you for pointing me to XYZ. Well,
Right.
a lot of people don't know things like everybody knows the big three, okay?
Hmm.
But then, the other ones, the one down in Texas, God, it's on the tip of my tongue. Um,
Flex Radio.
no,
Main trading company.
Main training company. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 People. It until I watched your channel, I had no idea about
Oh yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And then there's that one in Ohio as well too. I think it's
Hmm.
near Cincinnati. Um,
Hmm.
which I think is great because it gives people, besides HRO or DX or Gigaparts, if they don't have something in stock, some of these other places might.
Yep.
I think is fantastic.
Yep. Agreed. Yep.
What-
It's
and
it's a fun show to keep up with. So yeah.
it is. Well, and one of the things, and I got to say this about the big three. I've never had a bad experience with any one of them. Okay.
Mm-mm.
They've all taken good care of me. That they've all gone the extra mile when something went wrong. And I've really appreciated that they've done a good job. And well, for me, probably the one where I can get things probably the fastest is probably Gigaparts because
Mhm.
of where I'm located in Florida. Because usually from HRO, I'll probably now sometimes they have a store outside of Orlando,
Right.
but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have what I want in stock. A lot
Right.
of times when I order from HRO, I'll get it from Virginia, okay,
Mm.
or
Okay.
Atlanta. But
Yeah.
more often than not, it's going to come from Virginia. But for Gigaparts, it's a hop, skip, and a jump over for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
Now, I'm actually considering Huntsville, and I think that would be one where we would drive because that's a manageable drive for us
Hmm.
in Florida to get up there. That's not crazy like getting up to Ohio. I mean, I think that's
Hmm.
something we could probably do maybe in about 8 hours, about a day.
Hmm.
So that's kind of on my radar too. Everybody has had really good things to say about Huntsville. How have you liked it?
That's probably the funnest show that I've been to in the last couple years. A big reason for that is because all of us YouTubers that hang out together, that was the first show that we were all able to kind of, um, we basically, I mean, long story short, we basically kind of started collaborating together in late 2019 and early 2020. And then, of course, there were no Hamfests in 2020, 2021. So, well, 2021 Huntsville happened. That was the first major Hamfest in August of 2021. That was the first major Hamfest that happened post COVID, and everybody was there. Everybody was ready to get back to Hamfest, ready to come and hang out with people and just kind of eyeball QSO everybody. So, and a lot of the people we'd been collaborating with over Zoom for the last year and a half, we all got together as a meetup, and we're like, this is really cool to just kind of all hang out together and do stuff and go go do a POTA or something like that together. So, but and then we pretty much continued that tradition in 2022. We all met back up there, and then we're planning on doing that again this year. So it's not the largest show. They don't have the showings that the other two, that HamCation and HamVention do, but it's definitely a fun show. It's cool because the camping RV spot is on a mountain, Montesano Mountain with Montesano State Park, which is a POTA spot. So we just, after the event every day, we just go back to the campsite and activate POTA the whole time. So it's kind of like a twofer. You get to go to a Hamfest and you get to go do POTA all weekend long. So it's a fun show. I really recommend that one to anybody who's interested. I mean, if it's possible to get to for you, it's not too far of a drive or not too expensive of a flight, I recommend everybody go to that one.
Yeah, that really sounds like a lot of fun. Well, one of the things, I asked you the question, what do you want to get? If you had the opportunity, I'd love to get a KX3, but
Yeah.
one of the things that I'm actually thinking about is getting a box like you did with the 705, but doing
Yeah.
that for like the 891. I think that would, and I've kind of seen some of them out there, and I'm
Yeah.
kind of like, just kind of like going around and seeing what I can do, and trying to work
Mm.
getting a tuner in it, and all that kind of good stuff. So I'm kind of like in the looking stages right now, but that's a lot more doable for me than a KX3 right now, because that's a little out of my price range, and plus I want to
Yeah.
save money for going up to Dayton and
Right.
traveling and so forth. So
Hmm.
gotta do that. So Jason, I really want to thank you for spending some time with us tonight.
Hmm.
It was absolutely awesome. If you've been asleep for years and you're a ham radio guy and you don't know about Jason's channel, shame on you. But there is a link in the description. Okay, it's Ham Radio 2.0. Jason does a great job, and he's a great ambassador for our hobby. And and one of the other things that I want to say before we absolutely close out is one of the things that I found with the YouTubers on ham radio. There's a lot of cooperation, and I think that's fantastic. And I want to specifically thank you, Jason, for when I first got started out, and in getting me acclimated to the schedule and other things and other questions. Because behind the scenes, Jason's been there and has answered a lot of questions for me, before I even got started. And I really got to thank you for that. You do a great job, and just keep up the great work. That's all I got to say.
Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate you saying that, and I'm glad to see that your show's growing, and look forward to seeing who else you bring on to interview soon.
Yeah, I've got some other ones lined up. I just need to get them hepped up. So, Jason, thanks again, and everyone, remember, it's a great day to QSO. 7-3s, everybody. Take care.
73.